Okay.
And I said it.
Tualatin, oh, sorry, I'm reading the wrong thing. I will now call to order the THPRD Board of Directors meeting for May 8th, 2024. Jessica, would you please call roll?
Mark Lofton. Here. Tia King. Here. Alfredo Moreno.
Here.
Barbie Minor. Here. Lisa Monteblanco. Here.
All right, welcome everyone who's here joining us. We have no action resulting from executive session. So we are going to move on to our proclamations, agenda item number 4, starting with National Water Safety Month. It looks like I get the lead leg here. Let's see. Yes, I have the right one. Whereas individual and organized forms of recreation and the creative use of free time are vital to the happy lives of all community members, and
whereas education, athletic, and recreation programs throughout the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District encompass a multitude of activities that can result in personal accomplishment, self-satisfaction, and family unity for all, regardless of background, ability level, or age, and
whereas the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District recognizes that swimming and aquatic-related activities relate to good physical and mental health and enhance the quality of life for all people, and
whereas the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District is extremely proud of our swimming facilities, aquatic programs, and other related activities, and our contribution to providing all ages a healthy place to recreate, to swim, build self-esteem, confidence, and a sense of self-worth, which contributes to the quality of life in our community.
Now, therefore, the Board of Directors of the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District does hereby declare the month of May 2024 as National Water Safety Month.
right. And we will move on to proclamation number 2. And it's for Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Whereas THPRD is committed to creating safe, welcoming, inclusive spaces that serve, invite, and belong to everyone. And
whereas today, nearly 74,000 people who live in Washington County are of Asian or Pacific Island descent, contributing to the social, economic, and cultural fabric of our community. And
whereas the Asian American and Pacific Islander community in Washington County is incredibly diverse, representing people from more than 20 unique countries of origin, including China, India, Japan, the Korean Peninsula, the Philippines, Vietnam, and more. And
whereas THPRD respects the heritage and cultural traditions of all people and recognizes the privilege and responsibility of serving our diverse community. And
whereas Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month is an occasion for honoring our shared humanity, celebrating cultural stories, and committing to accountability and advancing racial equity.
now, therefore, the Board of Directors of the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District does hereby declare the month of May 2024 as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and do urge all those in the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District to support and promote this observance. Okay, number 3. Jewish American Heritage Month. Whereas Jewish Americans have been an important part of the American story and have greatly contributed to all areas of American life and culture since our nation's earliest days, and
whereas on April 20th, 2006, the federal government proclaimed May as Jewish American Heritage Month, stating, quote, as a nation of immigrants, the United States is better and stronger because Jewish people from all over the world have chosen to become American citizens, end quote. And since then, proclamations in support of Jewish American Heritage Month have been made by presidents of the United States annually. And
whereas generations of Jews have fled to the United States in search of a better life for themselves and their families, and these immigrants made invaluable contributions in support of equality and civil rights through their leadership and achievements. And
whereas there is a need for education and policies that are culturally competent when describing, discussing, or addressing the impacts of being Jewish in all aspects of American society, including discourse and policy. And
whereas we celebrate the rich and diverse heritage of the Jewish American community.
now, therefore, the Board of Directors of the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District does hereby declare the month of May 2024 as Jewish American Heritage Month, and do urge all those in the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District to support and promote this observance. And now, give all these a little more context, let you know what we are doing, and et cetera. So, of course, we have our proclamation posters, our display boards at multiple facilities highlighting these 3 items, the Heritage Month, and and National Water Safety Month. National Water Safety Month, I think probably the most urgent thing that we do in terms of keeping people safe and protecting people of all ages wherever they go around water. So I really salute the district staff and board for advocating for swim lessons in different languages and all of those good things that get people who haven't traditionally been served in swim lessons a chance to be safe. And we've had 5 events to highlight water safety, including Jump In 101, Vamos a Nadar, and the Wonderful World of Water Safety. Hats off to all of those efforts. Asian American History, Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. I would be remiss. I love that we listed China, India, Japan, the Korean Peninsula, Philippines, Vietnam, and more. As somebody who I completely understand why we would have an umbrella for all these. I think it's just vital that we always remember that even that Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month encapsulates such a huge part of the world, and individual countries and cultures within that, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Pakistan, et cetera, places that I think are very distinct. And I salute all of our efforts to try to bring everyone under the fold. We're doing some things like at the LC Stir Center, we have a showcase about the life story of a special Japanese American, Sahomi Tachibana. We're going to have a Meals on Wheels, a traditional meal on May 15th. We have a cultural day in partnership with the Oregon Chinese Coalition at the Jenkins Estate on Sunday, May 19th. That's a free event starting at 11. Arts and crafts, activities, martial arts, performances, tea ceremony, traditional Chinese instruments, and food vendors. Chase is dancing.
Oh my gosh.
Let's not forget that. Friendship Taekwondo tournament on May 18th. And all kinds of good things that we've done in the past, we'll do in the future. And I wanted to definitely highlight those. Just like I was here last month when we were celebrating Arab American Heritage Month, Jewish American Heritage Month. These are extraordinarily heavy and emotional times that we're all experiencing. Our neighbors are experiencing times and emotions that nobody asked for, yet they're still having to endure. So, I would say my heart is with you all. And I'm really proud of THPRD being a place where you can go to decompress a little bit. You can walk in the forest, you can play some pickleball, you can do a lot of different things to recreate, to free your mind, free your body a little bit. I'm proud of the things that we are doing. And we have Jewish authors and stories showcased at the Stir Center. The Thrive After School and Preschool program is learning the Hebrew alphabet and discussing mitzvah, which is spreading acts of kindness, and just exposing people to different traditions. And on April 6th, I wanted to point out we were able to host or be the host site for the Interfaith Annual Iftar Dinner. Jewish, Muslim, and Christian communities coming together for a speaker session, Iftar Potluck Dinner. This gathering was organized and led by the Islamic Society of Greater Portland. And I think on behalf of myself, because I'm speaking, but all of us, I think our message to all of our communities is that regardless of global events, you belong here in our parks and recreation, full stop, period. And we want to make sure you always feel like you belong here. And these places are your places. So thank you all for that and allowing me the indulgence of saying a few extra remarks. Let's see here. We are on to agenda item number 5. This is audience time, and I'm going to read a little disclaimer, a little context for that as well. For our community members who have signed up for the public comment period and those listening online, the public comment period is an essential part of local government meetings. All of us on the board of directors are grateful for your participation and will take your input into consideration. Each person has 3 minutes to speak. This is not a time for dialogue, but rather an opportunity for us to listen. We will ask our general manager to follow up with you as appropriate. Thank you. And now I would like to invite Nancy Chang. Welcome. Come on up to the.
I'm gonna stick to a script, so
You're welcome to.
maybe no eye contact.
That's okay. I'm having trouble myself trying to read all my notes. If you could just please state your name and your address for the record, and then we'll start your time.
My name is Nancy Chang. I'm actually a resident of Seattle, 6317B 34th Avenue Southwest, Seattle, Washington, 9827. All right. Well, hello, my name is Nancy Chang. I'm a field organizer in Washington and Oregon for a new climate action nonprofit called F- that tracks lobbyists who play both sides of the climate crisis. I'm from Washington State and spent my youth visiting Oregon along with my 20s building an inclusive skateboarding community called Skate Like a Girl. I have fond memories of helping the Portland area community launch the Skate Like a Girl chapter here and appreciate Tualatin Hills Parks and Recreation District's role in creating safe recreation spaces like the skate park in Beaverton, where Skate Like a Girl programs run. Thank you, board members, for giving me the time to testify and share feedback on the most recently adopted Tualatin Hill Climate Action Plan. Number one, kudos. Congrats on being leaders of this work and helping us reach our 2050 carbon emissions neutral goals. What I appreciate in the Climate Action Plan is that it lists many proactive efforts to curb emissions, like being conscious of the relationships in supply chain purchasing and other strategies for adapting to our current climate realities. I know that board members care about the climate, and why I would like to bring to light that on April 16th, James Browning reached out via email to the board chair to discuss why we believe that there is an incompatible relationship with current lobbyist Kylie Grunow, who is also a fossil fuel lobbyist representing British Petroleum. BP is infamous for their negligence in causing environmental damage and health detriments in frontline communities like cancer and respiratory problems. BP paid out $7.8 billion to victims of the 2010 Deepwater Horizon accident. I'm also inspired by Oregon's climate leadership to hold fossil fuel companies like BP accountable. As you may already know, in June 2023, Oregon fined BP for inaccurately reporting the renewable fuel volume amount. And last year, Multnomah County opened a lawsuit suing fossil fuel companies, including BP, for $50 billion in their role in creating a heat dome in the Pacific Northwest. In April, F- alongside with 350 PDX, Sunrise Movement, and Portland Youth Climate Strike held a protest in the Portland Art Museum, calling on the museum to break up with Gallatin Public Affairs, who represents gas companies, Williams Companies, and Cascade Natural Gas. When prestigious institutions like PAM and the Tualatin Hills Parks and Recreation District are associated with fossil fuel lobbyists, it upholds the narrative that oil and gas are okay. Please send a message to the fossil fuel industry and legislators that climate work is not performative. I encourage Tualatin Hills Parks and Recreation District board members to not let gas and oil undermine your commitment to climate and to cut ties with your fossil fuel lobbyists. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. We are going to go to board time. Agenda item number 6. I'd like to dive in while I organize my massive papers here.
I can.
Thank you.
We had budget committee, and so grateful to all of our budget committee members who went through all of the wonderful pages in the finance department for putting such a beautiful book together, and knowing almost every single page and where we need to find every information. It's a big feat, but it was a great discussion and lots of information, and we are going to meet again next week, actually. So we were all part of that. I went to joint advisory committee where we're presented with the levy update, the naming of the park, which will be discussing again later this afternoon or this evening. We also discussed Heckman Nature Park, which we will also all see again today. And then they had a what is it called? A presentation about the climate action plan. So that was really great to make sure that our advisory committee and the community is well aware of all the things that are happening. So they are just as privy to information as us. So I was really happy to see that. And then I haven't been able to get to any events to help hand out our Levy stuff, but I've been handing it out at baseball games and soccer games and swimming practice. So it's happy. Most people who are using our fields already know of it. I had my 5-year-old hand out most of it because you can't say no to a 5-year-old. So he has his speech of, please vote on May for THPRD. That's like his speech that he gives. But it's been really well received, and so I'm super excited, and we'll see. And hopefully, I put my ballot in today, so hopefully we'll have a great turnout at the end of May.
Tia?
Yep.
Anybody else? This side, that side.
I've been able to go to some events and hand out flyers, which has been great. And to me, the most fun is meeting new staff that I haven't got to interact with yet. Most of the conversations, have been great. We have lovely fans throughout the district, which is wonderful. So great to touch base with them. And fiduciary meeting tomorrow. So stay tuned.
Mine are, I echo Tia. I was going to talk budget and talk joint advisory committee. So yeah.
I feel like my updates are pretty much the same. Yeah, as Barbie and Tia. Otherwise, there's a lot of events that are coming up later this month that I'm excited to be able to be present for that folks have been letting us know about. So looking forward to being in those spaces.
Good. I've said quite a bit. My only new announcement is I have just booked myself for an election day appearance at Aquatic 80's 3rd grade to talk to my daughter's class. Sadly, not exactly our voting demographic,
But they do have good ideas.
they do. I will be there in my THPRD capacity, making my daughter proud or supremely embarrassed. Mixture of both, probably. Okay. Thank you, everyone. We are on to agenda item number 7, and I will entertain a motion to that the board approve the consent agenda as submitted.
I would like to I would move that the board approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Yes.
Tia Pink,
Yes.
Barbie Minor,
Yes.
Miles Clausius,
Yes.
Alfredo Moreno.
Yes. Okay. Who do we have? Holly. Great to see you, Holly.
We've got Holly, but before she starts on the levy, I did want to acknowledge a certain staff member recently received an appointment / selection. It happens to be Julie behind me here. Really an outstanding opportunity, I think, for Julie at the Park District exposure-wise from NRPA. She is part of NRPA's Hispanic Professionals, which started in 2022. And they are launching this year, for the first year, is a mentorship program. And so it's primarily targeted at professionals who are in the field, development opportunities, fostering one-on-one mentoring opportunities, relationships. And Julie was appointed to serve as one of the mentors, one of 11 in the United States. So really, it's a credit to the work she's been doing and has been helping the Park District do in our DEIA venture and learning process. But of course, as well for the industry, it's really pretty outstanding to have a staff member that is representative in that matter.
So comfortable with this.
Yes.
You really read. We won't look at you. Yay, Julie.
You see, that is Julie. Appreciate that. That's great. Thank you for It's great news.
All right.
Okay, Holly, we turn it over to you.
Okay, sorry, one more levy update. We'll make this super quick. 2 weeks to go. So Tia, thank you for getting your ballot in. You've got about 14 days left, so get those ballots in. A quick recap. You may remember I was here in March providing you an update. At that time, we'd had 59 outreach meetings and reached 955 people. Last month at your board meeting, I updated y'all that we'd had 91 outreach, tabling, events, presentations, and had reached 2,492 people. And today, I am able to report that we have completed 119 meetings, presentations, tablings, events. Thank you, Felicita, for joining Lulu and others at Bike Beaverton and other things. So appreciate it. So that's 28 have been completed since last month when we met. And we've had direct contacts. So that's talking with directly 4,521 people, an 81% increase in our direct contacts in a month. We have 4 of these activities to go. We will finish up at 123 altogether. It has been a mad dash this last 3 months, but I'm incredibly happy. We have blown the metrics for what I thought we would do for direct contacts, and that direct outreach really matters. I want to thank everyone for being a part of it, from colleagues on the management team who have taken evenings and weekends and worked events, to staff in this room. I see a few, Josh, Andrew, who have helped in other ways. The athletic center, we did a staff in-reach presentation in the last month where we activated staff and said, here's how you can talk about the levy. Let's talk not about what you can't do, let's talk about what you can do. And within a week, the athletic center had gotten back to us and said, we've been doing the work and the steps and we've talked to 300 people. So the conversations continue to be extremely positive. There is that slice of the community that we completely understand is highly tax sensitive. And, that's real, that's valid. We've got to talk about it. I was at the voters forum a week ago, I think. I don't remember what day is what. But that is something that came up talking to other agency staff there, other to elected officials that were there. They were talking about the tax sensitive issue and echoing some of what you discussed in your board meeting a month ago about the importance of all of us working together to really elevate this issue. But in terms of how are we doing, I continue to be super optimistic. I don't think we've left anything on the table. Our social media metrics continue to outperform all expectations. Our Google is our best friend, better than Facebook, better than others, and we are 10 times higher than the industry benchmark for click rates for people who see the Google search information, click on it, and go to learn about the local option levy. And we're matching all of our demographic targets that we wanted to match in the polling. So we're doing all we can. We haven't left anything on the table. 14 days to go.
Comments for Holly?
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you.
I do have a quick question, Holly, just, all right. Beyond the tax sensitivity issue, is there any other feedback you've heard in as far as pushback on this? I know that's obviously the biggest thing is there anything else in terms of?
There's variations of the tax sensitivity. I think it's, and again, you're talking to someone who's worked in this community on money asks. It's different. The tax sensitivity, just overall feeling overtaxed. There is a slice that's just anti-government, find the money under the couch cushion, bad management type comments, nothing deeper. Aside from a few throwaway comments of, that's not sexy. I'm not going to get more. You're not going to add hours. Heard a lot about that from especially people associated with LC Stir Center who want to see additional hours. But no, it is really primarily centered on the tax sensitivity, not a critique of anything else.
Which is certainly applies to every organization out there right now. So thank you. Just curious. Gosh, leave me next. Allow you up as well.
I'm just gonna do a little introduction because I'm so proud.
Welcome.
Good evening. I'm here just to introduce Josh Norton. He's our center supervisor, first time here tonight from Harmon and Sunset Swim Center. Josh, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, board, thank you for having me tonight. I'm happy to be here. As you said, I'm Josh, and I'm the center supervisor, Harmon and Sunset. And I'm going to give you a little bit of an update. I just have fun things to talk about tonight. We've been doing a lot of events in the aquatics department, and I'm going to kind of walk us through and highlight. We now have a full year under our belt of having all of the aquatic centers back opened, and we're fully staffed. We're ambitious and excited, and I want to show you what we've been doing. So we'll start with fall term and our spooky season. So we had a lot of Halloween events, a couple pumpkin pool parties throughout the district at Aloha and Harmon swim centers. You can see we had some averages of about 40 attendants. I'm specifically proud of Sunset Swim Center because this was our first event back open. We did our Saturday Sunset Spooky Saturday event, and we had 85 kids in attendance. We didn't charge for the adults because we wanted to encourage them to come with. So it was a great event. We were really proud of it. You'll notice a mermaid theme throughout my presentation. There's a mermaid theme throughout my career right now. And this one was actually at Beaverton. So they held a mermaid event in the fall that did really well. There is a pod of mermaids in the area that we have befriended, and they are just helping us win in so many ways. And then a quick highlight on Conestoga's dive-in movies. If you look at the numbers between November and March, 750 patrons attended. That's wonderful. And then talking about creativity, we'll move into winter, and I'm going to talk about Sunset a little bit more. So we had some new events that we created this year. So first time events, we wanted to test them out, see how they went. Our Lonely Fish Festival was our alternative to all of the Valentine's events that are going on everywhere in the world in February. It was a great event. We had 50 kids registered, 20 adults that were in attendance as well. And then our Shamrock Splash, and 81 kids showed up to that event. Again, we only charged for the children so that we could encourage the adults to come in and watch and participate. And we had about 45 adults that came with us. So creativity is going to be a theme throughout this. But holiday themed is not the only thing that we do with our events. So we have wipeouts across the district that are going on. Right now, Aloha Swim Center is doing them every other Friday, and then Conestoga is running them on Friday evenings as well. Actually, this Friday from 6 to 8:30, Conestoga will have another wipeout event. And as you can see, attendance is going really well for them. And we did the proclamation for Water Safety Month. And May is Water Safety Month. You'll notice on our social media, we're going to start highlighting water safety staff to really celebrate them. Beaverton just last weekend did an event where they had free swimming lessons. They had 25 children show up to it, and then following a free open swim where there were 30 participants to celebrate Water Safety Awareness Month, because this is our month to celebrate. All right, so I talked about community a lot. Community is a big thing across the district. And in the aquatics department, we're trying to be really proactive and focus on creating community for everybody. And so I'm going to highlight some of our women's only swims that we have across the district. Right now, Beaverton and Harmon swim centers are trying to be very proactive in creating this space. You can see we have some cultural partnerships that we've created, as well as drop-in programming. Harmon, for example, every other Saturday, we have a women's only swim where it's all female staff to create that inclusive space so all members of our community can be comfortable in aquatics. On the alternating Saturdays, we have a sensory swim as well. And this is for those who are sensory sensitive. So we turn the lights down. There's no music playing. We encourage patrons to be quiet. It's just a relaxing space so that everybody has a chance to enjoy aquatics in their own space. And then lastly, some upcoming events. So creativity and ambition. I think that really represents our aquatics department right now. We are trying to create community for everybody. And I think this is well displayed with the upcoming events that we have. So Vamos a Nadar at Aloha Swim Center, this is going to celebrate Water Safety Awareness Month, but it's exclusively in Spanish, which is something we should be really proud of. Something else I'm really proud of is the Poolside Pride Summer Edition at Harmon. This is a reoccurring event that goes on in June, but this one will actually pilot a series of Pride events that will go on seasonally at Harmon Swim Center. So we will have a summer, winter, fall, and spring edition, and not just celebrate it within the month of June. Conestoga has theme nights coming up, and I put in my notes here because I looked up some of their titles. If you're looking to attend a luau or flamingo, then we have a place for you this summer at Conestoga. But I'll close my presentation with ambition and creativity. I think we should be really proud of our aquatics department. We're motivated, we're excited, and we're creating community in the things that we do. So if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them, but thank you for having me tonight.
Comments?
Oh, this is amazing. Thank you, Mommy.
Awesome.
I just want to say, I mean, considering where we were from an aquatic standpoint, and I mean, thank you for the effort. I mean, almost building this thing back from just nothing, but almost nothing, right? I mean, so to see all these different events and definitely the creativity and the ambition is on display. Thank you for just throwing everything you got at these events that encourage people to come back to the pools however they like to experience them. And finally, Wipe Out at Conestoga is kids only or middle-aged men?
Yeah.
Is that on?
I'd be encouraged for your daughter to have the video camera out when you go out there.
I want to support you, Alfredo.
I'll raise some money.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
However far I can go. People can.
For the foundation.
Yeah, for the foundation. Here we go. Okay, thank you so much, Josh. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
All right, Julie and Gina.
Right. Good evening, Board of Directors. I'm Julie Richa, the Sports and Inclusion Director. And I act as the staff liaison for the Park Foundation. So I have the pleasure of working closely with our new executive director, almost 4 months in, Gina Labaco, and she's going to give a little presentation about the foundation and then kind of the highlights of where we're going.
Thanks very much, Julie, and I'm very pleased to be here tonight. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk a little bit about the foundation and our relationship with the district. I've had the pleasure of meeting most of you directors and also most of the senior leadership at the district. And I'm so excited and happy to be working with all of you. Elsie Stir is my shero. She was an amazing woman. I'm finding out more about her as time goes on. Tonight I want to talk about, start by looking at philanthropy in general. We have an interesting tax code that fosters the creation of nonprofit organizations in the United States to take up the slack, to do things that government can't do. And we have 1.5 million nonprofits in the United States, and they account for a whopping 1.4 trillion addition to the economy in 2022. I was interested to find out, because I'm new to the parks and recreation space, that there are as many as 6,000 park foundations in the United States. However, the vast majority of them do not do any active fundraising and are pretty much moribund. They are underutilized, and I think it's because most park and recreation districts get government funding. And so there really hasn't been much of a need for foundations to shore up the finances of parks and recs districts. But I think we'll see later on in this presentation that there have been some instances where nonprofit organizations came to the rescue of certain parks. This is where the money comes from for all of those nonprofits. It's interesting, I think, to note that individuals provide the majority of funding to nonprofits. It doesn't come from foundations. It comes from people like you and me. Americans are incredibly generous. They give their time, their treasure, their talent to lots of nonprofits. We know that the district has many, many volunteers. And I think we are unique in the world in the way that our communities come together to support missions that align with their values. So let's look at some of these park foundations I mentioned. This is a snapshot of those 6,000. And you can see, starting with the Central Park Conservancy, that the amount of money they raise really varies wildly. The Central Park Conservancy was founded in 1980 to basically save Central Park, which had been declined for many years. I lived in New York at the time, and Central Park was a scary, scary place. That 50-acre Great Lawn was nothing but dirt and covered in dog droppings. All of those iconic buildings were closed. And the mayor of New York went to a number of philanthropists and said, "Can you help?" Well, they did help. And today, Central Park is a global destination. And the Conservancy continues to run Central Park. They have hundreds of employees, and the $120 million they raise each year supports the operation of Central Park. They run Central Park, leaving the New York Department of Parks and Recreation with lots of other parks properties to focus on. I've highlighted the Spokane Parks Foundation because it has some striking similarities, I think, to the Tualatin Park Foundation and our relationship with the district. First of all, their logo is very similar to ours, and you see it at the top in the center. But they also have only one staff person, an executive director, although she works full-time. And the area they serve is approximately the same population as Washington County. However, Spokane County is larger than Washington County and less affluent, with higher number of low-income residents. And you can see down below, I was interested to find out the Milwaukee Park Foundation exists to help the parks in the city of Milwaukee. You all know the Portland Parks Foundation. So I've spoken to people at some of these foundations to try to understand how they raise money, what the best practices are in the field, and it's been very illuminating for me. But they all raise money in pretty much the time-honored way that all nonprofits raise money. And you can see some of these, some of the ways they do that here. I was interested to note that the Tacoma Parks Foundation raises between $70,000 and $100,000 each year just from the memorial benches in their parks. And they do this with no marketing. It's just a passive page on their website. Yet they have so many people coming to them because they want to put a plaque and on a bench in a park, and it raises some significant money for them. Let's see. So let's take a look now at our foundation. We're 66 years old, but we're still a startup. I think we have, like a lot of most foundations, park foundations, we were underutilized because there wasn't perhaps much of a need for us, but times change, the Great Recession, the pandemic. I think it's becoming more and more incumbent upon organizations to maximize their support from any kind of connection they have with the foundation. We are also a supporting organization. Although we're a 501c3, we are a supporting organization. And as such, our only purpose is to support THPRD. We are the least independent of supporting organizations. There are 3 different types, but we are pretty much a wholly owned subsidiary of the district, and pretty much like a program, I would say, of the district. We have some independence, but we work very, very closely with them. I want to acknowledge my predecessor, Eileen Kravitz, who I think did an incredible job during a very difficult time. She was the first outside executive director appointed to the foundation, and she did a superb job of recruiting great board members to the foundation. They're a terrific group of people. They're all so interested in the work we do. They're ready and willing to roll up their sleeves and get to work. We have a lot of great assets here in Washington County. We are the wealthiest county in Oregon, according to the 2020 census. And the district is a beloved institution in the community. We'll see how well it's loved on May 21st. But we exist mainly to serve the district's critical mission of diversity, equity, inclusion, and access. And I think we have a great mission, and I'm really eager to start to market on some of the programs and needs of the district. So in thinking about ways that we can raise more money and grow our partnership, these are all time-honored things that we can do. We know that partnerships are only as good as the commitment between the 2 partners. And I want to encourage all of you to become ambassadors for the foundation. Talk it up. Let people know that they can help the district by making a gift, a tax-deductible gift to the foundation. I've got some notions about expanding, casting a broader net on our grants portfolio. We have had some success with local foundations, but I think we can perhaps expand that to regional and national foundations, especially with some of the work we do working with differently abled children, youth, and adults. There's also a need to expand our workforce development programs. So there's lots of good stuff, and that I think we can engage foundations with, although it's a very, very competitive field. Also, our trustees on the foundation board, I'm going to ask them to do some fundraising for us by holding small meetings in their homes and inviting their friends, neighbors, colleagues to learn about the district, to learn about our work. And I think we're in a good position to cultivate bequests. We know that most people, as they age, they become more philanthropic, and a testamentary gift in a will is a very good way to gain support, raise more money. All of this takes time. All of it takes effort. It's not going to happen overnight. Fundraising is always situational. It takes consistency. It takes doggedness, but most of all, it takes a lot of communication with donors, with your board, and with the district. So I promised I'd be brief, and I think I have been. I hope I have been. And if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Thank you. Questions, thoughts? Ready before I go?
Wait.
Oh, I can't be here.
Thank you. That was great. Something I shared when we chatted was I think there's an opportunity in workforce investment grant type opportunities because I think it's such thoughtful work that we're doing. And I think I work in philanthropy, so I kind of know this world, though I'm very siloed, I suppose. But I feel like no matter what the values of the grant maker, people like investing in young people and investing in their ability to work. And I also want to say, I love the idea of you spending time on cultivating bequests because I always had an attitude about bequests and doing that work because it's so uncomfortable. But it is the biggest gift that someone will ever get to make. It is so powerful. And in the work that we do when we've been talking to people about the levy and when we go door to door doing our own thing, people have such a strong connection to this district, right? And so I think there's also an opportunity there. And I also acknowledge that takes years and you can't really plan for it, right? So, but I just want to acknowledge that would be great.
You can plan for it by letting people know that we're available to help them, to give them sample language to use with their estate planners. And just this last December, I think 2 large bequests came into the Elsie Stir Center. So it is serendipitous in some way. I mean, it's always been wonderful to get a call from a lawyer that it's not wonderful to hear that somebody passed away, but that somebody left a large gift because people make gifts through their assets, rather than through their income. So those bequests are usually larger. But yeah, I agree. I think that we can do a lot to cultivate bequests. And I've got some ideas about working more closely with people at the Elsie Stir Center because they are very, very strong supporters there. And I think that is a good place to start. The chair of the Friends of Elsie Stir is going to start attending our foundation board meetings so we can have a little more connectivity. And I look forward to doing that with some of the other locations within the district.
Thanks for your work, and I'm glad you're here.
Other comments, questions? I just, I'm a huge fan. I'm the board liaison to the foundation board. I have been my entire time. I've been in office here. So really excited to see what's coming. I think I've said it multiple times. I just think the symbiotic relationship between the district and the foundation is increasingly critical as costs and things that we're trying to be good stewards and we're trying to keep our budget steady and stable, and through additional investments from people who share our vision for what Parks and Rec can bring to our community can allow us to deepen programs that maybe we can do a little bit of, or maybe programs we haven't been able to start. I think I would just underline that it's important for us to help create awareness of the work that you're doing in however we can, whether it's through our own contacts or whatever it is, because
yeah, if you've got names of people that you think might be interested in hearing about the foundation or big fans of the district, let me know. I'll talk to anybody. And that's the way you begin to build a donor base, is by making friends and then asking them for their support. I think we've got great potential. I don't think we've got quite the potential of the Central Park Conservancy, but dream big. Nothing happens without a big dream.
Well, we've got great stories to tell, and we all know that because we hear them from these seats all the time. So I think the more folks can know those stories and understand that they take some additional investment to reach more and more people, the better it'll be for our community as a whole. So thank you. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here.
And thank you. So many people in this room are monthly donors to the foundation. Many are Legacy Circle members, as am I. And that's the kind of support that we need for people to share their resources with the places that are meaningful to them and impactful in their community.
Thank you. All right. A fun one, some new business. Carrie and Nicole.
We get to meet with you for both presentations.
That's good.
Well, thank you for having us here tonight. I'm Gary Keck, the Planning and Development Manager, and with us is Nicole Paulson, our Planning Supervisor, and I'm going to let her lead us through the presentation. Questions if they come up.
Thanks, Gary. I'm not left-handed. Doug, you might have to help me out here.
I actually operated right-handed.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Good evening, board. Thank you for having me. As Gary mentioned, I'm Nicole Paulson, Planning Supervisor here at the district. And tonight I get to present proposed names for 6 locations, 3 parks, 3 trails within the South Cooper Mountain area, and we'll seek approval for those names this evening and respond to any questions or feedback at the end of our presentation. So just a little bit about how the Park District goes about naming our parks. This is a kind of a step-by-step tutorial on that. The first is that we're looking at our cultural partners and researchers who help develop our award-winning names catalog, work with our internal naming committee and our management team, as well as presenting to the community and THPRD advisory committees. Finally, as the orange arrow highlights here on the slide, we are here to present names for approval. And I want to expand a little bit further on our name catalog. So our names catalog is an ongoing process. As I mentioned, it is award-winning. Work began in 2019. And these names in our name catalog are intended to serve as a starting point, really, to craft the name and then solicit additional community feedback. And the names catalog is a living document. It was initially developed as a focused research and engagement project where we worked with a team of members, including a local graduate students from PSU who research and specialize in cultural histories, and then bringing their own lived experience along with THPRD members. And this team intentionally reached out to a variety of organizations, community members, including communities of color, Native communities, people experiencing disabilities, and LGBTQ communities. Our naming research team engaged organizations and community members through in-depth discussions and interviews and developed a catalog of potential names for THPRD sites, and then our park district as well was able to supplement the catalog by creating or including additional names and contact from online and print resources provided by local historical societies and special history collections. And then through these methods, we sought to identify potential names for THPRD sites that would intentionally foster a safer and more welcoming sense of place that reflected the breadth of people, cultures, events, and natural environments in our region. Really consistent with some of the proclamations that we heard this morning, as well as the work that Josh is doing at the Aquatic Center. And staff really worked to aim to bring the explanation of the names to life through park design, including interpretive art and signage to talk about the meaning of the names. So when we look at names, we often encourage folks to pay attention to the feeling that each name evokes when they hear it, or something that a feeling or inspiration, similar to music or smells. People differ in the way they interpret smells. I know my son can't stand mint, and I'm a lover of it. So we have one toothpaste sink in the bathroom, and sometimes it causes a lot of problems. So, and so those are a few of the ways that different names can resonate with different communities and different people throughout our district. So let's get the naming. The three park sites that we're going to look at naming today, we've got a variety. We've got a pocket park. We've also got an urban plaza and a neighborhood park. And so each of these park locations are within the South Cooper Mountain area, which is located highlighted in the blue boundary. And as you can see, there's the very small tax lots all around show that the area is planned for development of dense housing. And the red parcel that you see on that map highlights a future development parcel. And so you don't actually see these small tax lots that will come in the future of that, but that will include housing and density as well, including some commercial opportunities. Okay. So our first site, and let me just go back one side. Our first site is the blue, I don't know what you call that. Blue loop tag. Site number 1 on the left side that you see. We are looking at that site as being named Meeting Point Park. And this site is really central to the location surrounded by high density housing. Meeting Point Park is a name provided by IRCO, which is the Immigrant and Refugee Community Organization. And the intent with Meeting Point is that it elicits imagery and thoughts of people gathering, connecting, and meeting each other across distance, perspective, and difference. And the name honors the experience of immigrants across the district, while also describing what a park should be and represent, which is a place of community and a time to come together. This park will include a large open grass space for neighbors, as well as a plaza with benches and picnic tables, creating a kind of secondary location to meet with family and friends. It also will encompass a sidewalk around the perimeter of the park, providing looping opportunities. I will just quickly note as we look at this, it reminds me of a little of, as we were looking at this name, it reminds me of a time when I went to the Eid al-Fitr event just recently that we held that was wildly successful. And we were presenting on a different park that I'll actually get to share with you next. But we had an Arabic translator with us, Manal, and she was phenomenal. She was so amazing. And we talked for a very long time about how Eid was celebrated in Syria, which is where she was from. And she often talked about how the 3-day festivities that surrounded Eid were just consisting of meeting at places in parks where they would come together as a family, meet, create bounce houses for kids, and the kids looked so forward to the events and just coming together as family. And it really just resonated with me as we kind of talk about this site and even the next site on how we connect with our community throughout the district. So our next site is Sequoia Plaza, and this is a smaller, more urban site. You're going to see a lot more hardscape, but the name of the plaza was really derived, while it didn't come from our naming catalog, it was derived based on the unique features of the site, which will really highlight the large sequoia that was it was intended to be saved and planned and constructed around for a central location within the community. The bottom right photo shows that large sequoia and a couple of surrounding trees that are being preserved within that site.
That one, I would say, we worked on that design around those trees. We brought that to the board several years ago, but you can see they're working all around them.
Thanks, Gary. And the third site is a neighborhood park, and it's a proposed name of Harmony Park. And Harmony focuses, again, on that joining together of neighbors to form a community through a common ground. The variety of the traditional park amenities is expected to attract diversity of neighbors and groups coming together in one park. The site will include play area, benches, a community lawn, as well as a loop pathway. couple images of the park. The site is built. These are all developer-led projects, and so the sites are being constructed with the Park District and taking them over once constructed. I get to move on to trails. There are lots of trails within the South Cooper Mountain area, a lot of connectivity. The 3 trails that we're looking at are the ones highlighted as blue, green, and orange. So there we go. The trail on the left, highlighted in blue, is proposed as Chehalem Trail. The Chehalem Mountains from the southern boundary of the Tualatin Valley, running roughly from Newburgh to Forest Grove. These are green and rolling, can be seen from the South Cooper Mountain area. And the Chehalem spelling, you might notice, is a little bit different than what we see on freeway signs or the town of Chehalem. And really this spelling aligns more with the original Atfalati word. And we're excited to propose this name. The trail in the middle, highlighted as orange, is proposed as the Oregon Oak Trail. The Oregon white oak is one of only 4 deciduous oaks native to the West Coast. And it was once the dominant habitat tree of the Willamette Valley. They're great nesting sites for birds, offer a variety of other animals, and for a variety of other animals. The Oregon oak and oak ecosystems are one of the most at-risk ecosystems in the U.S. So it'll be nice to propose the name of a tree that is so near and dear to the Oregon coast. The orange trail that you see is proposed as sandhill crane, and the sandhill crane commonly migrates over Washington County and can often be seen in the skies above Cooper Mountain. So we're excited to propose that name as well. And that concludes my presentation. I'd love to hear any feedback.
Great, thank you for the presentation, the feedback. I've rolled up my sleeves because I know we do have some things, we have some questions. I have some questions. I know some fellow board members probably do as well. I don't want to start, but does somebody want to start with questions, concerns, thoughts on anything? I can start unless anybody. I don't know. My neck turns.
Did you want to start?
I'll just say, go ahead and jump in. Love all the trails. I think the trail names are just incredible. I mean, I love Shannon Valley. I love that that we're getting back to the Atfalati word there. I think that's really cool. I did see that there was a concern about the spelling, but people will learn how to spell correctly. It'll be okay. So I am excited for the trails. Sequoia Plaza sounds great to me as well. I think the one that we are probably going to talk about the most is Meeting Point. It does feel a little bit generic. And I do think that is some of the concerns that we heard during the Joint Advisory Committee meeting that we had a few weeks ago. So I think that is like one of the pieces that I want to just connect with. I have had the opportunity to work with ERCO in the past, and I love that they brought this to us. I wonder if there were other names on that list that they were considering as well. I love the idea of like a gathering space. I mean, for families and community, like with my own family, we always gather in the kitchen and around the dining room table, things like that. So I love that kind of sentiment for a park name. And I guess my question is were there other names that were considered in that conversation with our partner?
That's a really great question. Thank you for bringing that up. ERCO proposed during the 2019 work that we did, interviews and research. I believe there were a few names that they proposed. Once it was proposed and the names catalog was created, staff then took those names and matched up what was seeming what was most appropriate for the site location and the intent of the site based on the meaning that was received from the cultural partner. And so the other two names that were thought about for this particular site were Harmony and Progress, while not provided by the cultural partner, IRCO. Those were the two that resonated best for what would be intended for this particular site, the amenities that would be included in it and the location. Harmony, as recognized as being used as one of the other sites. Progress is a term or a park name that was created due to a common theme throughout all of our research, as well as interviews that talked about gathering. And just as you were mentioning, the meeting points and the focal areas. So Progress also was identified to represent those opportunities to join together as a community, as well as show the progress of the work that's being done as we continue to work for inclusivity and outreach and accessibility.
Other comments?
So I guess my thing is, I mean, for some of these, there are a lot of respondents. Like some of them had like 50 or 50, but the thing that brought my attention was the kind of the overall love for the name, and it was like less than half, and I mean it was 28%. I know the pool is only 25, but I mean if we're going to be getting feedback and not listening to it or using it, we need to do better at getting the feedback if we're actually going to be displaying it and using it in some way or regurgitating it to somebody. But two, I just have a weird feeling of getting this information and then not kind of doing something or listening if we have other potential options. And I don't know if we need to figure out maybe a better way of getting these surveys for these, of whether we have the list online and people can start voting so that when we start to draw names early, we know names that are resonating with other things, or at the time we give options. And so then the community can pick the options, and maybe that's like a better way of picking out between names. As you guys were describing the background for the reason why meeting point, I kind of get it. Like I kind of love it more. I didn't really love it that much, but I also don't feel like you said, you matched it correctly. Like when you're talking about distance and perspective and differences, I feel like that's not a pocket park. That's more of a community central location where people come together for safety, to bring people together, to hand out food, to do our earthquake safety stuff, or, like, it's like something very central to bringing people together and different communities together. If you brought me that story to a community park named by IRCO that brings everybody from all sides of our district together, I would be 100% behind that. But for something that, one, IRCO has different names and didn't particularly put to this specific place, and we've just had such a negative response to it, I just don't, I feel like we can do better, and we have other options to potentially name this place, which we would get a better respond. I don't know, I keep saying to respondents because that's the word that's right in front of me, but yeah, performance or whatnot. So
Just because my comment's kind of similar to Tia's, I have been on a whole journey with Meeting Point Park. Just like, I don't like it. And then now I love it. But I think kind of like Tia is that I was thinking of like what does that invoke for me? I was like, ooh, I hope this park has like movable chairs and a chalkboard. Like I kept thinking, but like, what does it mean to bring community together? And like, I will say, it's not a deal breaker for me. Like I'm mindful of like that things need to move forward. It doesn't really match. Like when I think about a Meeting Point Park, like it's gigantic and awesome.
Right.
And like in the middle of multiple neighborhoods, and
it doesn't, like, this is like a trifecta of small, like people from number 3 are not going to go all the way to number 1 to like go to the Meeting Point per se or something. Like it's just that surrounding thing. There's nothing that would drive people from Like, I wouldn't drive all the way over there just to go to the meeting point. Does that make sense? But if you gave me something in the community that was like something huge that everybody knew about, it's like, let's meet at the meeting point. Everybody's like, I know what meeting point you're talking about. But if you were to tell somebody here, like, we're gonna go to the meeting point, nobody, that pocket park will never be known as the meeting point to anybody else except for the people who are right there.
The intentionality behind the name is awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I'll jump in. I echo the comments that have been made. I think the only additional comment that I will add is I'm so super excited about the work that we are doing to lean into storytelling and placemaking and having an opportunity to show what that looks like so that there's an educational opportunity like at Lowry's and Pouty Bar Park, et cetera. And I think I would just add that it's hard that the narrative that we're hearing doesn't tie back to the name. So then even from a storytelling point of view, I'm having a hard time sinking my teeth into it. So, but I want to acknowledge the thoughtfulness, the intentionality behind all of these taking us through. I'm also very appreciative that we had an opportunity to see this through joint committee as well, to give us a little bit more time to think about. I might even have an option here, which I don't know if you want to wrap this.
No, not yet.
Discussion. Okay, then I will hush, but thank you.
Okay. Yeah, my two to 200 cents. Thank you so much for kind of sharing my thoughts as well about the naming catalog. I really appreciate you talking about that. It's designed as a starting place. It's a beautiful, beautiful starting place. It's extremely impressive, and I'm very proud of it as a board member. I think it's kind of our responsibility to use it as a muse, but not as the Constitution, right? So ultimately, I mean, you all are doing, there's new parks coming online all the time, and it's got to be a daunting task to figure out exactly and match them. And I mean, the work is, I can recognize the challenge of it all and make people happy it's very hard to do. Ultimately though, I think, with respect to this isn't a democratic process. I don't know if we'll ever get to a place where the community decides 100% with it, right? You'll end up with Bodie McBoatface Park or, something like that. So, but I do think it's for us as a district, ultimately, if people go meh, then we've missed it. And so no matter how wonderful or which organization tied it back to historic, I think we can get around that sometimes with great interpretive signage and a really compelling narrative, especially when it's locally based, something in Beaverton that happened. I think when I looked at this specific one of Meeting Point Park, I got it. I understood where the concept. Honestly, maybe if it was the term meeting point in a different language that was specific, that you could tie back and tell the story about a meeting point, it takes on a bit greater sense of belonging. But the words themselves are just in English, are very generic English words. So even though they tell a story of people's journey and stuff that I believe the person at IRCA was probably trying to convey. So my context is just kind of, it's just a sweet science, right, of trying to bring in that community feedback, but also not be kind of limited by that. Well, they said this, we should probably just name it, small respondent list, but I would just think in a certain case, is there other options that we were thinking of that maybe just land a little better? I don't know, so I feel bad. I wish that one had 100 respondents and we could see, clearly it's a little more representative, right? It's hard. This is a brand new place where nobody lives, so hard to have strong feelings for better or for worse. So I think my 2 cents is just to lean into the marketing advertising of the park and making sure if it doesn't make people feel excited to go there, then we probably need to try harder no matter how great of a story it is. Or we need to tell a really good story to back it up and be pretty confident in the story that we're going to tell on a sign or in a press release or something that really explains why we chose a certain name. Why, when somebody says, hey, that name's misspelled on the trail, you might think it is. Actually, did you know the name you're more familiar with is more of the Anglo-European, spelling. This is why we chose the spelling very intentional, right? We have a really good narrative to say on that. So that's my thoughts, is just to continue to lean into that naming catalog, but not to be constitutionalists about it. Not saying you are, but just from our perspective, my perspective, that was my thoughts in terms of let's shake it up again and see if there's something else that we just missed. Is there a synonym or something we're just not quite, landing on? But anyway.
And I think moving forward for these surveys, I don't know if we want to do them differently. I guess I just don't like soliciting things and then not listening to it. But if we instead had the 3 options, and then it's well, Meeting Point had the most votes for it, I could get behind that, I guess. So it's just the kind of survey we're doing, or what we're, so just something to think about for the future of how we're using the information that we're getting back. Yeah.
If I could offer a comment too, before we hear the thoughtful name that we have. This is, you've got my curiosity.
Oh, I don't have.
We went through a very significant process for naming Mountain View Champions Park. Very intentional process. And it, as it inevitably happens, there happened to be a firefighter that had lost his life in action. And a school was proposed to name after. It didn't work out, and we were just inundated when the concept of we'd like to hear from the community, overwhelming response. But at the time, it was just not. It didn't describe the image of the location and the site, and what we felt the Champions Park was trying to envision for the public and the community that we're going to use it. So it is a delicate balance, and it's you don't want to have it hard fast that it's democratic, because the realities are it can go sideways in a hurry. It was unintentional, as it were, but at the same time, it still has to be meaningful, and this is a serious component to the entire process, the naming component.
And I would definitely agree to that. It definitely is not necessarily, but I think with us having a catalog and being able to pull from that and pull out all these other names that we also are behind and are supportive of, and so that's putting some, we want all of these, and so you pick. But so I think maybe it's, instead of just doing one and seeing how everybody feels, if we have options, and that's kind of, it is sort of democratic, but it's also a directed democracy. You're giving the choices where all the choices are okay, because we've already have all these eclectic catalog things. It's not well, what do you want?
Because we're asking do you like this name?
Yeah.
That's what's being asked, right?
Yeah. And again, now that I've heard the story and the reason, I actually do, I did not like it at all. I will tell you that before that. But now that I've heard the reason, I actually do really like the name. I just even more so don't think it's the appropriate one for this spot.
Other thoughts from you all staff before I kind of guide us towards the next step? And I mean, okay, I just want to make sure
that all helps. We appreciate the conversation.
Yeah.
So at this point, we're kind of
That was what the feedback was from the advisory committees. Did the advisory committees chime in? Were there high level themes?
I think they've been discussed here. This
Oh, okay.
is very representative of what I heard.
So thank you.
Okay, so we need to approve most or all of these.
Okay.
Do you want, can I make a motion?
Yes, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay. I move that the board of directors approve resolution. Well, is it the same resolution? Naming 5 new parks and trail sites as Sequoia Plaza, Harmony Park, Chehalem Trail, Oregon Oak Trail, and Sand Hill Crane Trail. Do I have to say and move to pause the Meeting Point name?
with an amendment that will come back.
Well, this is, yeah, the motion is to do 5.
Okay, I'll just do
of the
5.
6.
Okay, yeah. I wasn't sure if that resolution number needs to change, but I need to say it again. Okay.
I think yeah, so we have a motion on the floor to approve the resolution naming 5 of the 6 that we discussed, which are Sequoia Plaza, Harmony Park, Chehalem Trail, Oregon Oak Trail, and Sand Hill Crane Trail.
That's
Can-
good.
Yeah,
Second. I'll second that motion.
okay, we have a second. Okay, well, I guess we'll take roll at this point then.
Mas Palacios? Lisa Monteblanco? Barbie Minor?
Yes.
T-Ping?
Yes.
Alfredo Moreno?
Yes. So what happens now? Okay, so we left one off the table. What,
I think they'll just come back.
yeah, what's the process now?
Yeah, I think it's, we, with an adequate pause, I think we can do a little more homework and consider some options of how we move forward. Yeah.
Okay. Did we do everything procedurally right to get you all at least going on the others? Okay.
Yes, you did.
Make
Thank
sure we
you
didn't
so
leave
much.
any potholes there, so. Okay. Oh, you're still here?
Yeah, I am.
Halfway out the door. Hey, welcome back.
Happy to be here. All right. This is also something really exciting. I feel like you've got a lot of exciting stuff on your agenda tonight. We get to talk about the new neighborhood park and trail at Northwest Heckman Lane. I am very, very excited to bring this project to you and bring it to life. So I will state that you'll see a note on the bottom of the slide that says the project receives support from Metro thanks to voters investing in nature. This, I'll go in a little further on some future slides, but this is a project that received funding from the 2019 Metro Local Share Project bond. I will also note that our 2 amazing design consultants, Andrew and Tommy, are listening here on the conference call or on the call from Ground Workshop, who've done phenomenal work. So just to give a kudos to them before we get started. Okay, so if you aren't familiar with the site, it's located in the North Bethany area, a little bit north of Pirate Park and east of PCC Rock Creek. The project will also include a park as well as the last segment of trail within the Bethany Creek Trail System. So that's a really exciting opportunity for connection here. And this aerial view really highlights kind of the characteristics of the site. Really long and linear, a really unique shape. It's got some slope topography. It's adjacent to Bethany Creek on the south, as well as Kaiser Road that flanks the east side of the site. And as I mentioned on the first slide, this park has some really exciting partnerships. The first one being with Metro, that we did receive funding in their nature and neighborhoods, in their local share nature bond grant. So that really helps give us the criteria of what the design of the site will look like. It is really going to be a nature-based design site. Think nature play, trees, so very natural in design. To the south, the creek that I mentioned, Bethany Creek, was restored and enhanced by Clean Water Services this past summer. So that's an exciting opportunity to see really enhance the stream corridor and the wildlife within that area. Additionally, Kaiser Road on the east side of the site, Washington County is working on road improvements for that particular roadway system, and they will include trail crossing during the construction of those roadway improvements, which will be before our park is constructed. So that trail, as long as their schedule goes to plan, that trail crossing will be installed prior to our trail, which will be wonderful connection opportunities. Here's a couple images of what those entry points look like on either side. Okay. So we first started our community engagement in June of last year, so almost a year ago. We started with our Nature Family Fun Night, our Wild Trick or Treat Night. We also attended the Holy Festival, as well as the Eid al-Fitr event and a neighborhood meeting held at the local CPO, Community Participation Organization. Together, collectively, there were about 7,000 participants, so a little over 200 at each of our Nature Family Fun Night and Wild Night of Trick or Treat that was held on site. And then I believe our Eid event and our Holy Festival held over 3,000. Correct me, anyone over here if I don't have those numbers correct, but it was a really great turnout for those events. So through that first event, what you see on the right side is the input that we received from the community. And we received this input through a variety of outreach opportunities, which included those events we talked about, online surveys, social media, newsletters, mailers, webpage. And the common themes that we heard were really about viewing and enjoying nature, relaxing in nature, learning and exploring, as well as exercising. And then the themes that we heard that really resonated with folks were animals, wildlife, pollinators, trees and plants, as well as natural waters and multicultural opportunities. So with this information, our secondary event that we held, that Wild Night of Trick or Treat, a fun dress up costume opportunity in October, we provided our design consultants created 3 diagrams that showed what our site could look like and laid out with different opportunities and amenities. And so these layouts, we heard that option B, that middle option that you see highlighted in the orange dash, was the most preferred. And that particular site had the most play amenities. It also included gleaning or some sort of community garden type opportunity, as well as hearing a lot of feedback and excitement about pollinator gardens or natural opportunities for different animals and habitat. With all of that feedback that we heard, this is the concept plan that I'm really excited to present to you. We really move forward with balancing the community's desires to have a variety of amenities while keeping the site natural and designed to meet the metro criteria, as well as feedback from our internal design committee. This design really incorporates a variety of passive and active features. It includes natural elements such as those pollinator gardens I just referenced, gleaning gardens, gathering spaces, water play, trails, and we'll get into that a little bit closer in some of these next slides. Okay, so the 2 arrows that you see really highlight some of our main entry points to the park. These sites provide accessible access to our park amenities. And the renderings really also highlight, I mentioned that the site has slope. These renderings highlight how that grade change might look when the park is actually designed. And so the site also has the Bethany Creek Trail that runs along the southern part of the property, and it's a hard surface pathway that really completes that Bethany Creek Trail, providing opportunities for connection to other community and regional trails within the area. Let's see. All right, so now we get a chance to look at some of those play areas. The 2 arrows really highlight 2 different play areas. The one on the left, the bottom arrow, the bottom left arrow, really highlights the smaller kind of Tualatin area that hosts amenities geared a little bit closer to the 2 to 5 area. It's also directly adjacent to the covered shelter plaza, so that there's a lot of covered seating in that space, as well as water play opportunities for all ages. And then the site near the top is our 5 to 12-year-old age play area with different kind of more robust play that could be for all ages, either a large wooden climbing structure, a widened embankment slide for all ages and abilities to slide together. Both areas have concrete seating around them to allow opportunities for continued gathering, as well as opportunities to participate in the areas that your child or friends are playing in. So the play amenities have not been fully determined yet. We're still compiling community feedback that we've heard for some of these different amenities, which we were able to present at the Holy Festival as well as the Eid event. And so as we continue to dissect some of that information, we'll come up with a finalized play equipment palette as we go forward. As a reminder, our equipment here really is themed and going to be nature-based, meeting the criteria of the Metro Bond. Okay, and continuing with that theme, we heard theme of gathering and community. We heard a lot about gathering and community, meeting friends, meeting new people, meeting family. And so there are a multitude of gathering spaces within this park design. The first one actually being up at the entry, I don't know, on the entry on the top left actually hosts a very small gathering space that just has kind of one bench area that really allots opportunity for maybe somebody that needs to not be in the middle of a whole host of people. There's also the gathering space at the shelter and plaza area that's shown on the left side of the screen, the left arrow. And then that middle arrow that you see is a widened gathering space that really overlooks the creek, also provides opportunity for open dual-sided benches, long benches for folks to sit, as well as there is a water misting pole in that area as well to offer some kind of cooling off measures in the heat of the summer. So as you take that kind of the hard surface trail on the southern side, we moved a little bit towards the east of the park, and you'll see that the bottommost arrow points to an education node. So it's a small node that you might see people sitting, gathering, opportunities for looking at wildlife, or if there is any type of nature programming, it's an opportunity for learning as well. And then that top arrow that's really highlighting the kind of what you see as maybe an orchard of trees is actually going to be a gleaning area, really comprised of fruit trees, maybe blueberry shrubs, raspberry opportunities, just an area for folks to pick produce as they are visiting the site. And a little bit farther on the east, and we'll see it on our very last slide. I don't have a rendering of it, but is a node and an opportunity for some fitness options. That might look like a wooden pull-up bar. That might look like something with a more natural theme that allows you box jumps that are logs, very creative things that we are still working on, but really offers an opportunity for people of all ages and to play parallel while getting kind of that physical exercise. So our timeline is we are currently wrapping up our community engagement here at spring 2024. We're going to dive into our permitting, land use requirements, our design drawings, and that'll take us through fall of 2025. And then winter 2026, through that summer, we will look to construct the site. And that concludes my presentation for the park. I would love to hear any feedback that you might have or questions, answer any questions.
Kick us off.
I'm happy to jump in. I love it. It looks really cool. It's really exciting to see the renderings that you put together so that we have a little bit of a visual of what everything will look like. The education area is a super cool idea. I love that it's going to be looking out and providing a space where when it's not being used, it can still be a place for folks to congregate. I'm excited to visit this park. I am hype. I also want to say that I did note that that there's been 2 grants that folks at the district have applied for already, which is super exciting. That would be great for us to be able to lock in and have some of that money that we've designated come back and be put to something else as well. So really proud of the work that's happening on that front as well for the district. So appreciate that. But all in all, wonderful presentation. Big fan of the park.
I had a question for the free to pick harvest and then even the pollinate. Is there any like legal consequences to that for somebody gets sick, if somebody, I don't know, you know, or allergies or, you know, I mean, I know bees are everywhere, but I'm just thinking there's like an increase of bees with the pollinator and like bee allergies. I just wasn't sure if we need to put up signage for advisory, like the obvious, but yeah.
That's a really good question. I will be honest, I don't know the legality part of it, which I would be happy to double check. I will note that we have had a lot of discussions about the pollinator and either fruit drop with the bees. We worked really closely with our maintenance team to ensure that those pollinators are away from play equipment. As well as managed appropriately. I do know that at a similar site, Recuerdo Park, that also has a gleaning garden. I know that Melissa Markham, our volunteer coordinator, I think that's, I'm not sure her exact title, but she's amazing. And she currently works with a volunteer an orchardist who is within our district that really maintains the site or the edible garden site at Recuerdo. And so there might be opportunities for partnerships to look at maintenance for that as well.
I would just consider some kind of signage maybe to cover.
One thing that I learned through the Nature in the Neighborhoods community choice process we just went through, pollinator gardens was on a lot of the jurisdictions. That was coming up pretty frequently. But pollinators aren't just bees. It can be birds. So you can plant it accordingly. So
okay, perfect. And then I just wanted to make sure that when we start picking different play equipment, that we make sure like this is what we've kind of been asking for, like a destination park that will bring people from all around the district. So I just want to make sure that we have equipment for people facing disabilities and neurodivergent. And I don't know if we can make it so that wheelchairs can navigate the boulders potentially, or like a place where they can go through so they can still be part of the action. Or if maybe the boulders have different tactile things and stuff for kids to explore and touch and feel and stuff. So just thinking of those kinds of things when we start to pick our pieces.
Other comments down here?
I absolutely love this. I feel like it's the Barbie Minor greatest hits when I see it here. So I'm just so excited that there's so much thrown into this odd space. I wouldn't, and maybe this is because this is one that we've actually got to be a part of going through and to see the different iterations. But I feel like feedback that we have consistently given on different plans is all showing up here. I mean, I think about having 2 different kiddos in 2 different areas. And so it seems like this is very intentional with having 2 different age groups, but that you can see them. There's a path that goes through. So if you're wanting to push the stroller while the kiddo is playing, you've got me over here with the pollinator garden. Then there's also a fitness area. Now I can pick fruit. And yeah, I'm just incredibly excited. And I think this is a culmination of a lot of the feedback and a lot of the intentionality that we've seen. And we've got an opportunity to really see it come to life here. So kudos to you and the team. This is really wonderful.
That middle gathering area though, it will have benches and stuff, because I'm assuming that most parents will sit there if they have both.
Absolutely. Okay. Yes, it will have benches that actually don't have backs on them so that you can utilize it in a more fluid capacity.
I will say it is missing a 4-season. I'm just gonna throw it in the option. So
On brand.
keep saying it.
Lisa, anything?
No, I love it. I mean, similar to what Barbie said, I can't believe how much is packed in there. I'm totally impressed. And I'm excited. Yeah, this feels like a destination park. It just feels unique and like the shape presented opportunities and challenges, and thank you, Metro. Yeah, it's great. Thank you.
My comments, I think it's great how you're using the topography and those seating and those hillside slides are great. I love those, and and my kids love them too, not just me. This is a great spot. Thank you all for the work on this. I do have to say, New Neighborhood Park is not my favorite name, so that's the back I go.
Don't worry, we'll be back.
I kid.
I have one other just potential thing is that water play is gonna be right next to the 2 to 5. And I don't know if you're trying to make it age appropriate for like the 5 through 12, but I just imagine those kids like running through and potentially slamming through one of these little kids as they're coming from their play area to the water play. So I don't know if it makes more sense to like switch it more to the middle if the water play is appropriate for the 5 to 12, because they're going to be basically taking over that spot because that's going to draw a lot of people. So just thoughts, but yeah.
Yeah, the water is great, though. Having that element, the more and more we can do that, wonderful. So great. Well, I will entertain a motion to get this beautiful looking park concept plan approved.
I'm so excited.
You can
I move that the Board of Directors approve the preferred concept plan for the future park and trail at Heckman Lane.
I'll second.
All right.
With my
Jessica,
excitement.
Lance Blasius.
Yes.
Tia Ping.
Yes.
Lisa Montevecchio.
Yes.
Barbie Minor.
Yes.
Alfredo Moreno.
Yes. All right. Folks, we are done.
Thank you guys.
Oh, I'm here 20 minutes late according to the agenda.